Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here, off chain. Good to be here on a Monday morning when everyone is panicking. Yeah, I'm saying that kind of sarcastically. Obviously, lots of stuff going on, but I've said this before. What are you in this for? Do you believe in the technology, or are you in it to just play the markets and pretend you're a trader or something like that. I mean, if you are a trader, great. You're thriving off the volatility. You're probably short Bitcoin at the moment, and you're watching Tone's videos every day and figuring out like when to buy, when to sell. That's great. If that's who you are, that's what you do. But if you're a holder, why are you paying attention to the price right now? You should look at it like in, you know, like 2-3 years at a minimum, and probably more like 4 or 5 years. That's when you should be looking. If you're sort of riding the wave of emotion, it's going to be very difficult for you. And it's puzzling to me how many people just sort of like have their moods completely determined by whatever the price is. I actually think Bitcoin is making a lot of progress, right? Like Lightning is very exciting. A lot of people are working on like MAST and Schnorr signatures and stuff like that. There are many good articles in that regard, describing the technicals, and it's kind of nice because we're getting some work done, and those are good things. And I'd like to see more of that rather than this, oh, the world is about to crash and all this stuff. I hear lots of people have lost their mind. I don't know. People are like like messaging me about Richard Hart or something like that. I barely know the guy, but I hear he's going crazy. I mean, I consider sort of that sort of mentality as in between a trader and a holder, and that's not a good place to be. You want to be either a trader who gets in and out of positions on a fairly regular basis. The best people that I know that do that, they close their positions at the end of the day because they want to be able to sleep. And then after they sleep, they go and buy positions and do various things and thrive off that volatility. That's how you're supposed to trade. But if you're a holder, you don't trade, right? Like, and you do care about price, but not on a short-term daily basis. You care about it on a long-term basis. Yeah, we're in a correction, right? Like, we're down from 19,000 to 7,000. That's what, like 60% almost. It is what it is. We've been through this before. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I feel like a lot of people, get too caught up in the day to day. If you are getting caught up in the day to day, it should be about the tech and not about the price. And it confuses me with that. Like, so many people are so dependent emotionally on like Bitcoin to sustain them. It's really rather odd. Anyway, lots of people asking lots of questions in chat. So let me bring that over here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Richard Hart, and I don't know. I'm not going to comment about another person that's doing his own videos. You go ask him. All right. Let's see what's going on. What was the story? Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to make this video because I am about to leave for Satoshi Roundtable in a bit. So I've never been to this conference before, and I was actually kind of surprised I was invited. I think it was like 3 months ago or something like that. And, I was like, oh, okay. I've always heard about this invite-only conference. I had never actually gone. So it's kind of a nice opportunity, probably, not something that I plan to go to on a regular basis. I just want to see what it's like, and see if there's any value. I'll report back and, give you guys another video about exactly what went on there. I don't think I'm allowed to share names, but I can certainly share ideas. And that's at least for me, the more interesting thing. Again, right? Like you can talk about, well, so this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Like, small minds talk about people, slightly larger minds talk about events, and like the great minds talk about ideas. For me, people aren't that interesting. I don't know. If you're interested in People, go read that magazine, People, or like go. I don't know. There's plenty of sources of drama with regard to People in the mainstream media today. You can go read tons of stuff. If you want to read about events, there's plenty of that too. You can go on CNN or something and read lots of that and get as outraged or as happy as you want, depending on whatever it is. But if you want to talk ideas, that tends to be kind of rare. And that's not something that people tend to talk about. But that's, at least for me, the most interesting. I think for all of you, that's kind of why you're in Bitcoin. It's the idea that we can replace the Federal Reserve, right? Like we can have a new form of money that's greater than any other store of value that has ever existed, and possibly the greatest medium of exchange as well, if everything goes according to plan. I mean, who knows, right? Like, it's hard to tell, like, exactly how all that is going to happen. But yeah, I am getting ready, and I just wanted to make this short video and talk about some of the stuff that's going on. Can you stream from Satoshi Roundtable? I'm gonna try, at least from my hotel room, but I don't know. Yeah, I do remember I've been on a show with Richard Hart, but I barely know the guy. I've done like 1 or 2 shows with him, and most of the time he like went off on politics and stuff, and I usually hate talking politics. And it's like, okay, if he's going to talk politics, I really don't want to talk about this. I just kind of shut up and let him, talk it out. And this is one of my rules, talking about this stuff. If it's not directly related to Bitcoin, I don't want to talk about it. And it's not really necessarily because I hate it so much. It's because I used to pay attention to politics, but I found that I was just constantly outraged, or I was just kind of in a constant state of worry and stuff. It wasn't good for me, and I wasn't able to affect those things very much in the first place. And most of the time, the media will tell you a story, so and so did this, or there's this bill coming up that will make you, do X, Y, or Z. And for me, those things aren't that important. Most of the time, those fears are unfounded. And most of the time, because either the bill doesn't pass, or if it does, then, there are mitigation strategies or whatever. But, most of the time, it doesn't actually affect your life very much, only your emotions, like for a temporary amount of time. And it's very analogous to the price today, right? Like it affects you emotionally, but it actually doesn't affect you long-term very much unless you decide to act on that information. And there's no real new information, right? Like, it's just the price went up, price went down. We know that Bitcoin's volatile. Everyone's known that for a very long time. And that's okay. That's part of why it's also gone up a lot. And people tend to have a lot of loss aversion. So it hurts more when it goes down than it feels good going up. I mean, if we had reached this price slowly on the way up, starting in January of last year, we would all be thrilled. But because we came to this point from the top, from above, from like 19,000, it feels a lot worse. And this is what I mean. Like, you can't be beholden to your emotions. I'm very much, a fan of stoicism, and I like it for a lot of good reasons. But one of them is that you only control what you control, and that's a very good way to think about things. And what can you control as a holder? Well, you can hold, you can also sell, but that would be kind of antithetical to your goals. You could contribute to the community by, either coding or reviewing or looking at new technologies, trying out Lightning nodes or new wallets and posting a review and giving feedback. I mean, there's so many productive things that you could be doing rather than watching price. And instead, like, most people are like, oh, the world is falling, look at this chart, and this going bad, blah blah blah. It's you're just sort of riding some like emotional porn or something. It's not very healthy or good for you. It's just you're just gonna get more emotional about it. And I don't know. I personally don't think it's a very good thing to constantly be harping on price. Anyway, what can we do to help with little technical background? Yeah, that's a great question. So try out different wallets, right? Like give people feedback. You try out different services, write up a review about like what your experience was. Like if you have like, I would love to read like a little bit of a Square Cash App like review, right? Like, is it easy? Does it work? Like, how long did it take? Does it secure your Bitcoin? Can you transfer it to other people? There's tons of other services that are trying different things, right? Like, give a review, right? Like, try them out, right? Like, if you want to contribute to the community, we need users for a lot of this stuff, right? Including Lightning and things like that. Like, give it a shot. There are people. There's a guy that sent me a script for setting up a Lightning node. There are people trying to automate this stuff, make it easy for people like you. Well, go and try it out, right? Like that's a great way you can contribute to the community. You don't need any technical background at all. In fact, these instructions for a lot of this stuff, they're meant for people that aren't technical. And if you are technical, then you're going to kind of have that problem where you know too much, right? Like, or you have things are obvious to you that aren't to other users, and you need that other perspective. And that's a very useful thing that you can contribute to the community. You can also, tell other people about Bitcoin and why you believe in it, right? Like, or you can tell yourself or write that down, right? If you're sort of from an economics perspective, like an expert, then go write stuff about the economics of Bitcoin. Those are very important too. It's kind of a fallacy to say that, like the technical is the only contribution. There's tons of other ways. And this, I gave a talk on the anti-fragility of Bitcoin to the Raleigh meetup and the Amsterdam meetup a while back. Well, actually not that far back. It's like 2 weeks ago and like a month and a half ago. But, go take a look at that. It's, part of why I wrote that was because, or I gave that talk was because people have this tendency to think that if you can't code, you can't contribute. That's absolutely not true. There's an economic and social anti-fragility that gains tons by having, non-coders involved. Is Roger Ver at the Roundtable? I have no idea, actually. Yeah, I know Bruce Fenton is because he invited me, and I know several other people are that are going just from what I've. Yeah, you should wear a straw. This is a straw hat, guys. I don't know if you can tell. All right. Let's see. Pound that like button, folks. Thanks. Let's see. Still up 7x in 1 year. That's right. Why are people freaking out about it now? Yeah. So Tone was going to come, but I think he's in Singapore, and it was just like way too much travel for him. Let's see. Other stuff. Yeah, the price drops have happened a lot before, and it's completely normal, guys. A lot of people, and this is part of the anti-fragility of Bitcoin, right? Like if you're in this and you haven't gone through this drop before, this is what it's like, and you need to learn how to handle it, like sort of from an emotional perspective. And this is part of being a good holder, is that you need to be ready for this stuff. And you need to make sure you're not affected by it in a negative way. And you need to, sort of get through it. And it's kind of strange, but holding is hard. A lot of people think, okay, well, you just like, if I bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, I would just have held and I'd be rich now. Well, it's not necessarily true. A lot of people got in 5 years ago and they sold as soon as it doubled, or they sold when it halved. And it takes a certain type of resilience or tenacity to believe in something when the market sort of says that it doesn't. And that's the hard part. That's the part that's the contrarian part of holding that pays off so well, is that when everyone else is sort of selling, that's when I mean, this is Warren Buffett quote, right? Like, be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. The point there is that, contrarian bets have a tendency to be highly asymmetric and very profitable. So what you need to do is to sort of steel yourself against the inevitable conventional wisdom that's going to come against you. And that's difficult. That's difficult. It's not going to be very easy to be able to do, especially because we're kind of like herd animals, right? We're kind of social people. We're social animals, and it takes a certain type of again, resilience and tenacity in order to be able to hold. I would call that fortitude, right? Like the ability to hold on to your beliefs, even when other people are sort of starting to doubt them. A lot of people sort of crumble under that. And when the market says, "Hey, we don't think this asset is worth as much as you think it does," the temptation is to agree with the market, right? And it's very easy to do, agree with the market and sort of be a part of, just sort of agree with everyone, because it doesn't require sort of that emotional strength to be able to say, no, I actually believe this is what you guys think is wrong. Again, it takes a certain type of personality. That's why I think a lot of libertarians got into Bitcoin, is because they kind of already have that, in the sense that they're already a little bit contrarian. They're not really subscribing to either Republican or Democrat or whatever, and having sort of that, being used to that, it's easier to hold. It's easier to stay contrarian and things of that nature. That, by the way, is why I think Peter Schiff is still so against Bitcoin. He's in a way contrarian to the conventional wisdom in libertarianism a little bit, that Bitcoin is a good thing. So I don't know. It's really interesting, the social dynamics of like a price rise and decrease and stuff like that. Again, this is what causes Bitcoin to become anti-fragile, or it is what makes Bitcoin anti-fragile in an economic sense. When you hold through a lot of these contrarian signal, or these counter signals, that's when you make all of your money. I mean, if you panic sell now, you'll probably lose a lot of money. As far as, you probably bought, I don't know when you guys bought, but like that, these are the things that you have to think about. And conviction is kind of a rare thing. And this is what kind of changes the world, is conviction. I ask any entrepreneur, they've been told that their idea is stupid or that it won't work, like many times. I mean, even before I started my programming blockchain seminar, a lot of people told me, yeah, I don't think people are gonna, go on this thing, and do this. They're gonna tell you stuff like that. And part of growing up and maturing as a person is being able to tell, okay, when people are right and when people are wrong. And a lot of your profits come when you can identify when other people are wrong and you're in the right. And that this is a very good thing. So anyway, I hear Tone's gonna go live pretty soon. So anyway, enjoyed this one. I didn't expect to sort of philosophize as much as I did. But yeah, I'm going to be in Cancun pretty soon. I actually still have to pack. But yeah, thank you guys. And, for joining me. I'm going to try to do more of these videos, even, like without coordination with Tone and whatever. I do want to do more shows with Tone, but, obviously we're in different time zones and it's hard to coordinate. Anyway, thank you very much. And this song is done.